Our sermon is Baseball and American Religion. Baseball and religion have many similarities, including rituals, superstitions, moral inspirations, and reverence for the sacred. Join us to hear this somewhat lighthearted look at our national pastime, presented by Dagavarian-Bonar of the UUOCC in Galloway Township, New Jersey. Dagavarian-Bonar is the volunteer worship coordinator at the UU congregation of the South Jersey Shore and has been a Unitarian since the 1960s. Her last professional position before retiring was as assistant provost and adjunct professor at Stockton University, where she developed and taught classes in baseball history and the Armenian genocide. Deb has published 2 books on baseball and many articles on topics ranging from learning assessment to accreditation to baseball. She earned an EDD from Rutgers University in 1986, designs handcrafted jewelry, and enjoys reading and singing. A baseball fanatic, she roots for the Mets, Phillies, and Yankees, but will watch any game. Note, there will be a 7th-inning stretch during the sermon. We'll sing along to a YouTube video of Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
I'm an ardent member of the Church of Baseball. I grew up in a suburb outside of New York City, a normal, ordinary girl, doing well in school, playing with my Barbies, joining the Girl Scouts, and watching plenty of TV. I also played catch with my best friend and either my father or her father in many nights in the summer. Just as an aside, I just lost this best friend about 3 weeks ago. She passed. My younger brother and sister and I played baseball with the neighborhood kids in our backyard. The Weeping Willow was first base. My brother's red jacket was second base. The spruce tree was third, and the monkey bars were home plate. When I got a little older, I went to Shea Stadium and Yankee Stadium. I had always enjoyed baseball. But it wasn't until my mid-20s that I became a true believer in the Church of Baseball. One of my mentors in graduate school knew I liked baseball, so he gave me a copy of The Glory of Their Times, one of the best baseball books ever published. Has anyone read that? If you ever want to read a great, it's such a wonderful book. It's a collection of reminiscences of the early 20th century baseball players, researched and tape recorded by the late Lawrence Ritter, a former economics professor from NYU. Ritter traveled around the country and interviewed these former baseball players in their homes about their baseball careers. He did this during the 1960s when they were basically all old men. Each chapter was in the words of that particular player, telling stories of his teammates and his own career. Reading that book transported me to the very early 1900s, when people who couldn't get to the ballpark followed their favorite teams through the late afternoon and evening newspapers. There was no TV, not even radio. I fell in love with the ball players' stories. I joined the Society for American Baseball Research, SABR. I went to my first National SABR convention, which was in Baltimore that year, and as one of the few women in the organization at that time, I was an outlier. A member of the press who was covering the convention interviewed me for an article in the Washington Post. It was a heady time for me. I met the son of one of the ball players in the glory of their times, Smokey Joe Wood, a talented young pitcher who came up with the Boston Red Sox in 1908. I met Smokey Joe's son at that first SABR convention and arranged to interview the old ball player at his home in Connecticut. Smokey Joe and I became friends, as much as a 93-year-old man and a 28-year-old woman could be friends. I visited Smokey Joe several times at his home in New Haven and was treated to demonstrations of his wind-up motion and his comments on current players and plays as we watched Red Sox games together. Imagine hanging out with a real Major League ball player, watching games and chatting about various plays. I wrote my doctoral dissertation on how baseball stories for children from 1880 to 1950 socialized kids into positive behaviors. I even published 2 books and several articles about baseball. I was and still am completely hooked on the game of baseball. In the heartwarming novel Shoeless Joe by W.P. Kinsella, which the movie Field of Dreams was based on, the main character says that a ballpark at night is more like a church than a church. The Hall of Fame umpire Bill Clem once said, "Baseball is more than a game to me, it's a religion." And that's how I feel too. As you know, we Unitarian Universalists here at my congregation and here also consider themselves Buddhists, pagans, atheists, Christians, and Jews, whatever. I am one of those UUs who is also a worshiper in the Church of Baseball. Like any other religion, baseball is rich in tradition, ritual, superstition, myth, and the sacred. What's more sacred to a baseball fan than a revered player's record, such as Babe Ruth's season home run record? When Roger Maris broke the Babe season home run record in 1961, he was shunned. And when Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's career home record of 714 homers with 755, the baseball world was hit with a tsunami of racism mixed with awe. A black man broke a white man's lifetime record. And that career home run record of Hank Aaron's was later broken by Barry Bonds with 762, though Bonds' record is somewhat tainted by suspected steroids. Another record I believe would never be broken was the great Lou Gehrig's record of consecutive games played. But lo and behold, Cal Ripken broke that record in 1995. I found an article that I wrote in the late 1980s in which I stated that Gehrig's record would probably never be broken. Wrong. One record I still believe will never be broken is Joe DiMaggio's hitting streak in 1941 with 56 consecutive games. But who really knows? One day, about 40 years ago, I turned on the TV looking for a game to watch, and the only one I could find was a Texas game. I hate Texas. Especially now with its medieval governor, gun culture, and anti-abortion fever. But it was baseball, and Nolan Ryan, the former Mets star, was pitching. So I watched. As the game unfolded, I began to realize I was witnessing history. Nolan Ryan was pitching his 7th no-hitter, a major league record. And as a devout believer in the Church of Baseball, I prayed with each pitch for the no-hitter. Even for a team I strongly disliked, I prayed for Nolan Ryan to achieve what no pitcher in the majors had ever achieved, a 7th no-hitter. And even though I watched it on TV, I still watched history being made. Like any intrepid devotee of baseball, I went to a game at Yankee Stadium on August 4th, 1985, to witness more history, more meaningful baseball history to me. The late, great Tom Seaver, the great former Mets pitcher who was then pitching for the Chicago White Sox, had 299 wins when he was scheduled to pitch that day in the Bronx. The Yanks ballpark was packed with thousands of Mets fans, and yes, some Yankees fans too. The magnificent Tom Seaver won the game, achieving what only 24 other pitchers in a century and a half of Major League Baseball history have managed to accomplish, to win at least 300 games. Like most religions, the Church of Baseball has its share of superstitions too. For example, you don't talk about a no-hitter while it's in progress. Other players on the bench will stay away from the pitcher, giving him space. Superstition is the reason some players eat the exact same meal before every game or wear the exact same article of clothing, especially if they're on a hot streak. Many players won't step on a white line on their way to the infield or outfield, and some will always step on a base for good luck. I remember reading about a player in the 70s, I forgot who now, I couldn't look it up either, was on a hitting streak and wore the same exact socks every day during his streak. Yes, the same pair of socks without laundering them. Even his teammates commented on this. Speaking of superstitions, there are many well-known jinxes, such as the sophomore jinx, in which a star rookie doesn't play well in his second year. But probably the biggest jinx of them all is the curse of the Bambino. This refers to the hugely consequential deal made in 1920 by the owner of the Boston Red Sox at the time. Babe Ruth was an outstanding pitcher on the Red Sox, and as it was still the dead ball era, his hitting prowess was not fully realized yet. The hapless Red Sox owner needed cash because he also had Broadway productions to finance. So he sold Babe Ruth, the Bambino, to the New York Yankees. After that, I was happy. After that, the Yankees became a powerhouse team, and the previously top-notch Red Sox went for decades without a World Series championship. Finally, in 2004, after 84 years, the Red Sox won the World Series, interestingly by beating the Yankees, and ended the curse of the Bambino. It took 84 years to break that curse. As an aside, one of the stories that Smokey Joe Wood told me was about Babe Ruth. Smokey Joe was on the Red Sox and overlapped with Babe for 2 seasons, 1914 and 1915. Whether it was true or not, he told me that when they traveled to other cities, he would room with Babe Ruth. Smokey Joe joked that he actually only roomed with the Babe's releases. One thing that was definitely true is what Smokey Joe said about his friend, the Babe. He was just a great, big, good-natured kid. And that's a direct quote. Curse of the Bambino, sophomore jinx. In addition to superstitions, both religions and baseball have their rituals. Christians take communion, and baseball players have their own rituals. Each baseball player has a unique ritualized walk to the plate, home run stride, and fielding style, especially ritualized batting stance. Just as an aside, I used to imitate ball players, their batting stances, because I watch every game. That was when I was watching the Yankees a lot, and I watched every game. I knew their batting stances so well. I would imitate. Why do some of these rituals that baseball and religion, what do some of these rituals that baseball and religion have, both look like? Many hitters cross themselves with the pitch before the pitch of each ball, and some of those who get a hit will say a quick prayer of thanks to God. To me, that's interdenominationalism at its best. And the fan rituals, when you hear a chant of what sounds like booing from one of your team players, it's probably fans chanting for a Lou or a Mookie. And if your pitcher has 2 strikes on the batter, you clap rhythmically before that next pitch to get the strikeout. And one of the most cherished rituals of all is the 7th inning stretch.
Take me up to the garden, take me up to the ground. Are you something else a cracker jack? I don't care if I never get back on me. For the bones, and the women's a shame. It's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out of the old ball game. Take me out to the ball game.
Back to the bottom of the 7th. Yeah. What is it about baseball that makes it so special to so many people? Baseball reminds us of the halcyon days of childhood and the peacefulness of rural life, even if we grew up in the city or suburbs. Baseball is a reflection of the past. As George Carlin intimated, it is played in a ballpark, a green cathedral. And remember this, baseball is democratic in that each player gets a turn at bat. The batting order is sacrosanct. Unlike many team sports, virtually anyone can play it. And even the best players can and do strike out. Most religions profess a keen sense of morality, just as does baseball. But both religion and baseball can be equally corrupt. We've learned about Catholic priests gone astray. In professional baseball, 8 Chicago White Sox players were banned from baseball for life for throwing the 1919 World Series. Another example is Pete Rose, who was banned from baseball for gambling and lying about it. And like Shoes Joe Jackson from the 1919 Chicago White Sox, is not eligible for the Hall of Fame, at present anyway. I have a feeling the new commissioner might waive that. Players of high moral character are revered, like Cal Ripken and 2 of my personal favorites, Tom Seaver and Christy Mathewson. Now, you already know about Tom Seaver, who was elected to the Hall of Fame upon his first eligibility in 1992. But Christy Mathewson was an early 20th century pitcher who came up with the New York Giants in 1900 and was elected posthumously to the Hall of Fame in its inaugural class in 1936. He died young because of exposure to poisonous mustard gas fighting in the First World War in Europe. He also accomplished a singular feat in the 1905 World Series by winning 3 complete game shutouts in less than a week. Can you imagine that today? Pitchers don't even pitch complete games 3 times a week nowadays, nor do they even start games. So early in the 20th century, every town had its own baseball team. During World War II, when Americans were losing sons, husbands, and brothers overseas, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, in what is now referred to as the Green Light Letter, wrote to then Baseball Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis, saying that baseball should continue for the sake of the country's morale. That's right. Baseball was critically important to the war effort by providing comfort to those at home. After the horrific mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, a few years ago, the town was about to cancel their planned hosting of a regional Little League tournament. Some of the students who were killed had played on the town's Little League team. But after discussions among the town's leaders and the parents and the entire community, they all agreed that baseball was exactly what the town needed to begin healing. So they went ahead. Ron Shelton, the writer and director of the hit baseball film Bull Durham, was catapulted to fame and fortune after making the popular movie in 1988. He published a book a few years ago titled The Church of Baseball, which discusses Shelton's years playing minor league baseball and the making of Bull Durham. Not only did a film about baseball make a splash for Ron Shelton, but it also revitalized the city of Durham, North Carolina. In the 3.5 decades since the film came out, the population of Durham more than doubled, and local businesses thrived. So why is baseball such a popular and healing activity, an all-American sport? Various people have written about it. Enlightened conservative George Will wrote, "Baseball, it is said, is only a game." True. And the Grand Canyon is only a hole in Arizona. One of our Unitarian predecessors, the great poet, thinker, and writer Walt Whitman, said about baseball, "It's our game. That's the chief fact in connection with it. America's game has the snap, goal fling of the American atmosphere, belongs as much to our institutions, fits into them as significantly as our Constitution." Jacques Barzon, the French cultural historian, said, "Whoever wants to know the heart and mind of America had better learn baseball, the rules and realities of the game, and do it first by watching some high school or small town team." And if you saw the movie Bull Durham, you might remember Annie Savoy saying, "I believe in the Church of Baseball. I tried all the major religions and most of the minor ones. I've worshipped Buddha, Allah, Brahma, Vishnu, mushrooms, and Isadora Duncan. I know things. For instance, there are 108 beads in the Catholic rosary, and there are 108 stitches in the baseball. When I heard that, I gave Jesus a chance." But it didn't work out between us. The Lord laid too much guilt on me. You see, there's no guilt in baseball, and it's never boring. The only church that truly feeds the soul day in, day out is the Church of Baseball.